Coming up on the Empowered Woman podcast.
And I'm caring less than it's almost like a volume thing. I'm turning down the volume on the you can't, you shouldn't, you're stupid, what will people think? All of that gets a little quieter because I'm now standing taller.
Yeah.
And I'm now declaring things and I'm remembering who I am and why I'm here.
Welcome to the Empowered Woman podcast, the #1 show on personal growth, visibility, and profit for women entrepreneurs. If you're wanting to get empowered to be seen, stand out on social media, stages, TV, and more to make an impact with your voice in business, you're in the right place. I am so glad that you're here. My name is Marta Spurk, and I'm your host, empowerment coach, visibility and marketing expert, and all things motivation extraordinaire. Welcome again, and let's dive into today's episode.
Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Marta, it is so good to be with you. Thank you.
I am so excited to hear more about you and how you're empowering women and leaders out there. Oh my goodness, we were just talking a little bit before hitting record, and I'm like, let's just do this because this conversation is already so good. We need to document this. So why don't you kick us off telling us more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Marta. I am Maureen Falvey. I'm the lead coach and trainer at Strong Training and Coaching. And I get to do this good work now following a 25-year career in advertising where I got to watch leaders in action. And what a difference it is to see someone who is empowered and someone who operates and leads from that place versus someone who isn't. And how attractive that is. I don't mean charm and magnetism, but I got to see the leaders that everybody wants to work with and for. And those are people that have done the good work of cultivating confidence, not arriving at it, but right, how do we do that? How do we look at failure differently and get back up again? And how do we, instead of waiting for empowerment, because no one, comes with the wand and says, I now anoint you. Yes. You're empowered to lead. We get to advocate for that. We get to change our mindset around it. And we get to really understand that it is every good thing comes from that belief about ourselves, that we are truly empowered. And there's nothing in the way. And what if your day and your work and your life was happening for you, not to you?
Right. Oh my gosh. We're totally on the same wavelength. It's so refreshing to hear somebody else talk about things that I truly believe in, but obviously with your own twist and angle and experience and working with, such amazing companies. Tell us more about the background that got you into this. And then I do want to get into the characteristics that you were saying.
Yeah.
People that are empowered leaders, what are we looking for so that we can then model that and embody too? But tell us more about your background.
Yeah, sure. So as I mentioned before, in advertising, it's a very creative industry and people are showing me the work and all the ideas. And there was this chapter of my career where I'm like, God, I love you people and I don't care about what you're showing me anymore. I care about you. I care about the process you went through to bring your best work to the table. I care about moving anything that's in the way of that. It's just an intense curiosity about the human condition, what joy actually is, what accomplishment and results and all of those things really mean and how we get them. And so I just feel so grateful to be able to do this work now as a coach and a trainer, to have people declare out loud, this is what I want. And even that is really hard for some people. This is what I want. And imagine their life having those things and then moving the stuff, which 9 times out of 10, maybe more, the stuff that's in the way is us.
Yeah.
Which is great because then it means you're the person who gets to move it. Yeah. If there isn't actually some external block, the good news is you're in the driver's seat.
Yes.
The driver's seat. Yeah.
That is just, it's the truth. I was just having a coaching call right before this and talking about what do you want? That's the $1 million question. What do you actually want? And giving yourself the permission to answer that without feeling like, oh, I will be disappointing somebody, or maybe I'm not cut out for that. It's such a loaded question, but that's the question. That's life's question. So that then we can show up to be the empowered leaders to lead the way for other people to then advocate for what they want as well. So tell us about the characteristics, because whenever I bring in my message of empowerment, sometimes people will ask me, so what does empowerment mean? Because there's, several definitions. It's a word, especially when we talk about women empowerment. In my case, it's, a phrase that's been around and that's gotten to have some different connotations here and there. So I always bring in my own definition based on my life experience. So I'd love to hear your definition of it, and also specifically when it comes to witnessing it in action in leaders.
Yeah. I'm a very visual person, so I always imagine like a garden, and it's just something that we plant and we nurture. I know for sure that no one anoints us empowered, but I also know we don't really arrive at empowerment. We feed this thing. We declare it, we say, I want to be empowered. This is a thing that I want, but it does take some nurturing, because on any given day, any of us can get wobbly. Right? So something's triggering, or something takes us back to a tricky place. And so it's just setting the intention that we are going to ask for what we need, advocate for what we need. What if no one's coming to save you? And I always hate saying that because it sounds so negative. Of course, there are people to help us, but it is wonderfully up to us to do this work. And so some of it's external. I'm going to advocate for this thing. I'm going to put my career path together. I'm going to have this hard conversation with my boss. But there's work that comes before that. And it's the internal stuff. It's the internal work, and it's the mindset. And we were, most of us were raised by people that weren't trained, and they meant well. But narratives were handed to us that they're not useful anymore. And so the first thing we have to do is just look at our belief systems and say, which do I want to keep? Which are helpful to me? Which are garbage? Which are just not why I'm here? Which are going to get in the way of my purpose in life? I can't have that. So we get to, I always say we're not just the protagonist in the story of our life, we're the author. You can pick up the pen at any time and rewrite that stuff. I don't care what was handed to you. And if it was bad stuff, I'm sorry. If it was good stuff, hooray. Right? But you're not done. You're not finished. Totally. And so a lot of it's the internal work. And I said before, Marta, in the beginning, that I'm so grateful for this work. What I mean by that is just the massive focus group that is the work that I get to do now as a coach, and really understanding what stops us, and how, I almost want to say wonderfully, but wildly insecure we can be. People you would never think, but we're so afraid of making a mistake or getting it wrong, or someone saying they don't like us, and all of that stuff. If you're aligned with your purpose, none of that stuff matters. You're absolutely right. Some people won't like it. Some people will look at you with a side eye. It doesn't matter. When you know what that purpose is, you'll have headwinds, you will have tailwinds, you'll have attractors, you'll have detractors. But the great thing is you'll be energized because you're right where you're supposed to be. And you won't mind that stuff as much because you'll have that feeling that you're right where you're supposed to be. Right.
You'll be a lot more aware of how in control you are. And I love bringing this up because, especially again, because I have this empowered brand, people assume that I don't have hard days, or, oh, Marta, you make it look easy. And oftentimes I have to remind people, I'm like, hey, I have triplets. Like, how easy can my life be? Like, there's stuff going on at all times, But then, there are people that come up to me and they're like, I'm not feeling very empowered today, or, and I'm like, right there with you. There are days where I'm not feeling very empowered. And knowing that this is a choice, but still, what are some things that you usually walk your clients through to work through those roadblocks when people, get in their heads with their comments or triggers? And sometimes it's unintentional, right? It's because of that narrative that you were just talking about that we were fed and we haven't let go of. Walk us through some of your tips and practices to walk clients through.
Yeah. The first thing is I'm reading the room. If you say to someone, I'm not having an empowered day, those are just words. But if I'm really reading where you're coming from, you may need to have a disempowered day. You may need to lie down and wave the white flag and say, I need help. Yeah. A friend of mine just rewrote the book, The Little Engine That Could. I think this is so cool. Because sometimes you can't. Sometimes you can't. And maybe somebody else was given more tailwinds, or, the other trains, right? So in his version of the story, they go back and they help the little yellow engine get over the hill. So So someday, so I will meet you where you're at. But even in that, if you're going to choose to lay low, right, know that you even made that choice. And I also want you to choose how long you're going to sit down in the basement and feel sad or hard or stupid or whatever the thing is. I want a time limit on it. Right. And then I'm going to call you tomorrow. If you told me it was one day where I'm just going to own this disempowered thing, I don't want to take too much energy. I'm just going to own it.
Yeah.
Then the next day I'm going to start with the empowered questions, right? What is the belief system you had yesterday? What was going on? How true is that really? Mm-hmm. What is a more empowering thought that we can replace it with? Mm-hmm. And how can I help you move anything that is in the way of that? I might go back to your purpose, might go back to what you told me your goal is, right? To get to that motivation. I might invite you to imagine your life when that goal comes true. And now your brain is firing and it's excited and it wants that again. So now I've got a new way of looking at a fresh way of looking at things, a new belief system. I'm reminded of my goals. I'm now excited about how it looks. And now I'm ready to move anything else that's in the way from a more empowered place, a more energized place, a more confident place.
Yes.
More confident place. And I'm caring less than it's almost like a volume thing. I'm turning down the volume on the you can't, you shouldn't, you're stupid, what will people think? All of that gets a little quieter because I'm now standing taller.
Yeah.
And I'm now declaring things and I'm remembering who I am and why I'm here.
That's beautiful. I love that. And it's the process of giving ourselves grace as well. We don't have to be, get back up, go, go, go. Sometimes you just, need to feel the feelings. But like you said, how long are you choosing to be in that space? Because also understand that is a choice. One of the most revolutionary things for me, because I tend to be go, go, go all the time, is when
you tend to be what, Marta?
Go, go, go.
Oh yeah, me too.
One of my mentors says, did you know that resting is also action?
Right? That's so good. Yes. I've learned that. I'm learning it.
Oh gosh. No, I can tell we're on the same page here. Two peas in a pod. Empowerment. Yeah.
Yeah.
We all have lessons that we need to learn. Tell us more about some specific clients. Like, do you work with specific businesses, or is it anybody that's needing that help with the coaching and the empowerment to be an empowered?
Yeah. It's so interesting. They tell you when you go to coaching school, they tell you to like pick an expertise. Yeah. And I struggled with that. And so I didn't. Right? I didn't because I will share with you, there are two different areas that I play in the most, but I believe that anyone can benefit from coaching. I believe in the tools for coaching, and they can work whether you are doing career coaching or leadership coaching or entrepreneurial, whatever that thing is that you need. I believe so strongly in the tools that I think they can help just about anyone, male, female, wherever you are in your life. What I tend to be doing the most of now is on to opposite ends of the spectrum. People who are extra wobbly, right? And they've lost their confidence and they are even struggling before they can declare what that thing is that they want because they don't think they deserve it, right? So cultivating confidence. We're not going to arrive at that. In fact, I don't even want to meet the person that it's arrived at confidence. I have a feeling it means you like, what do you know? I don't know what that is.
Right.
And you lose the thing that connects us, which is our humanity and our fallibility. I don't want anyone to lose that. Our vulnerability, my gosh. So that side of the spectrum, or someone's just about to, like, they're ready for that C-suite thing and they fall into that momentarily. And they're like, who am I to be a CEO? No one in my family's, all the narrative, blah, 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 blah. And then the other end of the spectrum, which is people who are overly confident, overly certain, and are struggling maybe with EQ, with reading the room. And oftentimes it's actually the other side of the same coin. It's insecurity, right? They're coming on so strong. And it's because they got a bad brief that said you're supposed to know. Yeah. And you're supposed to tell people, like Elon Musk saying, get back to the office or you're fired. That guy, that's who I work with. That's who I work with as well, because what's really interesting, I don't know if this is surprising to people, but that difficult person is not trying to be difficult. In fact, I empathize with them tremendously because they don't have the EQ yet.
Yeah.
In order to relate to people. I mean, that's like teaching EQ. Of course we can learn it, but that person doesn't have what comes naturally to other people. They have trouble reading the room. They have trouble like there was one guy I was working with, and he said, I've got this new job. I'm running a department of 50 people. I've never done that. I want to succeed. And I said, great. That's what I do. I can help. And he said, no, I didn't tell you the problem yet. He said, I think I'm an a-hole. And I said, what do you mean? And he's like, well, God, every conversation I ever have, someone's crying or they're upset. He said, I'm just trying to help. So every person with that strong personality that's just bulldozing over everybody, they really don't know yet. They really, and then we do a 360 and they find out. And sometimes they cry. They're like, I had no idea. Right. So all of us are trying to help. So in the spectrum is pretty interesting to me, those two ends of it, of like people working on confidence and other people who are coming across as overly confident. And of course they aren't.
Yeah. They have insecurities too. That is something for us to always remember. Even, whoever it is that we're looking up to and thinking that they're perfect, they have no problems, is not so fast. There's still that humanity side, just like you said, the vulnerability. And I love that you're using the word wobbly. That's so cool. It's such cute imagery to say, if you're not feeling empowered, then you may be feeling a little wobbly, like uncertain, right?
Yeah.
And that can be worked around for sure.
Yeah.
Especially with somebody else coaching you and helping you take a good look at yourself. That's really the whole process, right? Is holding up that mirror and helping people understand themselves better and read the room. That is really fascinating, because that was one of the other things that I was wondering in talking about leadership, is when you have a team and you have, as solopreneurs, that happens as well, but especially as you start adding people on and you are responsible for the communication that goes on with the team, not just directly with your clients, and especially if you come off strong, just like you said, or you could be more on the doormat side as well and not be so much of a leader. So,
yeah, I was just thinking, Marta, when you talked about the word, responding to the word wobbly, that empowering is probably the opposite of that. Not confidence necessarily, but that's that feeling of being on steady ground, like heavy boots, is that empowerment piece.
That's it.
It isn't knowing everything, and it's just like I'm standing tall, in my power, and from there, I can do anything. Right? It's just different. It's just a different feeling, and really just getting that it's okay to have wobbly days too, and then asking the question, what do I need to feel empowered?
Again,
right now, how do I get back on steady ground? Yeah,
love that imagery. You're all about the visuals. That's so fun. Well, before we started recording, I mentioned the word playground, and you were like, "Oh, I love this so much." So I'd love for you to touch on that too, and talk about the element of fun, and just like what we said, what do you want to do? The $1 million question, the loaded question, and doing it and having fun in the process instead of pigeonholing yourself. And I love also what you said. I decided not to pick a niche, because that's a huge thing in the coaching industry too. Like, you have to be micro, right? And it's like, I don't want to. Yeah. And there's so many people that are successful not doing that necessarily. There is, I just said this to my coaching clients before we started recording. I said, there are no wrong turns. There really aren't.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah.
You're learning, in the whole process, you're learning, you're meeting people, you're connecting, you're expressing yourself. But anyways, tell us more about the playground and your idea.
Yeah, no, I was so excited when I heard you use that word, but I don't know, 100 years ago, someone wrote that book, Everything We Need to Know We Learn in Kindergarten, something like that. Anyway, I just sort of feel like everything we need to know, you can learn by watching kids on a playground. Yeah. And there's just this, there are a couple things that are happening there as it relates to work and feeling empowered, but they're not self-conscious. Like if they fall trying to get across the monkey bars, they don't look around and be like, geez, I hope no one saw that, right? They get back up again. Yeah. And they aren't, we got this bad thing. I think it's a holdover from the Industrial Revolution, that the way to get people to do things is to incentivize them, carrots and sticks. Yeah. But imagine what would happen if you went to a playground where kids are playing full on and full out and trying to get to the top. Or being brave and go down the slide. And you said, hey, I'll give you $5 if you get across this monkey bar. suddenly the whole thing is like, rah, rah, rah. Or I'll give you $5 if you climb higher than Johnny over there. Right? It becomes this competitive thing. That's not the game they're playing on the playground. They're playing the game of what is my personal best. And I don't care what anyone thinks. They're not thinking about that. Yeah. So it's this, I mean, it's like freedom, and it's conditioned into us to worry at some point, but you can condition it out.
Totally.
You can condition it out. And I also think that it's relevant to the work that we do with the fire in the belly that kids have on the playground, that we tend to go to work and we hold back on that extra 20%, the real goodies, because we're afraid to make a mistake, or it isn't psychologically safe, or we're afraid we won't do it as well as our colleague or whatever. I watched my daughter, she was about 4 years old, on this, trying to get across the monkey bar, and she wasn't tall enough or strong enough or anything else. And all I wanted to do was save her because she kept falling. And she went back and forth. Her hands started to open up, right? But it was getting dark out. I knew we weren't leaving till she got from one side to the other. And I think about that, and I don't mean to work ourselves into exhaustion. I work with a lot of people who are stressed out. I certainly don't mean that. I mean tapping into your brilliance. Mm-hmm. I mean being guided by something that has nothing to do with money or titles or being better than anyone else. It has to do with you and your goals, and going for it no matter what, right? Just like arms out, I'm going. And that is what I want the experience of life and work to be. That is my best definition of empowerment. And actually, I share this with a lot of people, but I always quote my mom because she's awesome. She's a therapist, but she says the purpose of life is not to be pushing a cart uphill with your nose the whole time. It's to be in it riding. And empowerment is being in the cart riding. It's all tailwinds.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean there aren't bumps in the road, right? You're going to go through those, but there is the sense that I'm going right where I'm supposed to be. And I'm going to keep on no matter what. Mm-hmm. To get across those monkey bars, because the world, my group, my clients, my fill in the blank are waiting for me, right? And they can't have what I have to give if I let that other stuff get in the way.
Yeah. The imagery of, we hold back on the fire in our belly, that really spoke to me. That 20%, like the last little bit, just because we're insecure about how we're going to come off and what's going to happen. And that's something else that I've been talking about the last few days, coincidentally, is inviting all of you to come out to play, right? Instead of holding back, it's like, sometimes we don't allow some parts of us, like, ooh, this is not going to be well received. Let's leave it here. And then we'll take this other part of us, especially when it comes to work, because we need to look a certain way that we created in our heads, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, no, invite all of her and let her have fun in the process. Yes. And everyone's going to have fun together.
Yeah, and neuro-linguistic programming, you use the word play, and that will light up such a wonderful area of the brain where creativity and connection and collaboration lie. So to look at work and empowerment, all those things as play, is like the kids on the playground as well. So I'll add that to my TED Talk when I get there. It's so good.
Totally. So good. Tell us how exactly you work with clients. Is it mostly one-on-one? What are some of your offers? Let us know, and then we'll also talk about how to find you and all that good stuff.
Yeah, sure. So we at Strong Training and Coaching, we do, one-on-one coaching, team coaching, group coaching, and we do a ton of training as well. So most of our coaches are also trainers, which helps us accelerate the learning and get to results even faster because we can pull those best practices off the shelf from the trainings as well. And so a lot of us are also keynote speakers. And so we get up and work with companies if they need someone to really rally the troops. We do that as well. And all of us, we're leaders, right? We're not theoretical coaches, which is nothing wrong with that, but we have 20 plus years of leadership experience. And so we can bring that to light as well. And we all love what we do. And we always want to do more of it. So if that is of interest to anyone here, come to us at markstrongcoaching.com. Find us. We would love to do that good work with you.
That's amazing. I'll make sure and put that link in the show notes. Oh, Maureen, this was so fun. It's just so nice to talk to somebody that understands.
Yes, I feel such a connection. I hope to see you on a playground soon, Marta.
Yes, I know. Me too. Any final words of empowerment for our audience listening?
Yeah, just to let us stop looking outside. It's in you. Trust yourself, believe in yourself. And even when you're scared, do it anyway. Yeah. Fear is not the question. If you're scared, you're probably right where I want you. But what if you could be scared and do it anyway, right? Fear can be right there in your empowerment journey as well. You get to decide what to do with it. Maybe it's a motivator, right? Maybe you use it, but trust yourself.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much, Maureen. This was wonderful.
My pleasure, Marta. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I hope this episode empowered you. And if you enjoyed the show, please join the Empowered Woman community on Facebook and share with friends or leave a review on iTunes so more people can discover this empowering message. Until next time, bye.